Hi guys, Togo here with a new video, and this video will be a patch overview for next reset. There's a lot of class tuning. Now, I'm not going to say that there is a lot of changes into the meta. I think a few specs are going to get toned down and a few specs are going to be buffed up, but I feel like the general sentiment of this patch, at least 10.0.5, will remain a bit the same. But some classes are going to change tiers and some classes are going to I feel better after this patch. Now let's talk right away with the changes. So we have a lot of changes which I'm going to cover only the PvP ones. I will cover really quickly the PvE ones, but I can't give you my opinion about it because I do not do PvE. So Blood will have buff to Hard Strike, Blood Plague, Blood Boil, Death and Decay, Shattering Bone, and Sanguine Ground, all around 15% and 20%. I don't think in PvP it will be that big. Maybe, I don't know, but still, Death Strike is the one thing that is actually hitting for something in PvP, and that's not getting buffed. So I feel like for now, Blood Decay will remain into the D tier RBG kind of feel. But Frost Decay, let's talk about that. I do play Frost Decay. Although it feels like a one-trick pony, really. You're killing people in Pillar of Frost, and that's it. But with maybe these changes, it will maybe change it, because Frost Strike damage increase by 10% is actually quite nice if you're going for a Frost Strike build. I can crit for quite a lot, so I feel like it's going to give you a bit more agency towards it. But again, Obliterate not getting changed, which is good, I guess, because it's already hitting or critting for a lot. But I want to have Frost Decays actually stepping away from all those Pillar of Frost goes and just make Obliterate just Frost damage anyways. That would change the spec considerably, and you can actually nerf and adjust the spec accordingly. But I feel like Pillar of Frost is too much of a go, that is actually too big to compensate by buffing right now, because if you buff, you're going to have a obnoxious spec, and if you're nerfing it, then it becomes a spec that is just empty outside of Pillar of Frost, and even when you're going for a Pillar of Frost, is going to be doing a lot less damage. So I don't know how they could actually change the spec. Like I said multiple times, for me it's a stat stick spec. Either the stats are so good that it's going to be too strong, either the stats are so bad that it's actually underpowered, and right now I feel like outside of Pillar of Frost, you being able to kill someone is actually a miracle. But we'll see with those changes. Frostwhelp 8 damage increased by 100%, Frost Fever by 15%, Glacial Advance by 20%, which is I'm not taking Glacial Advance. I think it's very clunky, but maybe with the damage increase it would become something good, I guess. I think it's not enough, but we will see. It's also like one talent point that you have to spend to it, and you already spent a lot of talent points, so I don't think you have the place to actually take Glacial Advance. Unleashed Frenzy, 10 seconds. Cleaving Strikes, that's quite nice in PvP if you're doing like a Death and Decay and you're like cleaving with Obliterate. It can do a lot of damage, that's for sure. Frost Sight is just PvE, so that's good for them, I guess. Garden Druid getting buffed on survivability overall. That's pretty much just PvE. I don't think it's going to be very representative for RPGs, but also not for PvP in general. So I feel like it's going to be unchanged. Restoration Druid, 3% more healing in PvE, not in PvP. So again, grand scheme of things, in PvP it won't change nothing. Preservation getting nerfed on all healing by 5%. It's noticeable, but they do get buffed in the PvP section, so please watch the PvP section. Hunter Beast Mastery increased by 5%, which is, I think, a joke. I think they're doing already a lot of damage in PvP, but we will see. Marksmanship Hunter getting 5% increased damage dealt, plus the PvP changes. I think it's going to make Marksmanship Hunter actually crit and hit for more than whenever you had double tap. I feel like double tap was a gimmick that most people were stopping anyways in CC or whatever. Whenever I hear double tap and I was on my warrior, I have a trinket and disarm, first thing I do is trinket disarm. And if they trinket the disarm, stun. And then if I don't hit him, and then he has no double tap anymore. Or I just pop a CD, because I know double tap is a 1 minute CD. I can afford to use a CD in counter act towards double tap. But now that's removed, I feel like the damage is a bit lower. I do try to play MM just to see because I see a lot of videos from people that are actually very skilled on MM. It does give me at least the courage to play MM and to see for myself. But I think 5% plus those changes that you're going to see in PvP changes are going to be good and better for MM, even better than whenever you had double tap, in my opinion. Survival Hunter getting damage increase is kind of a joke, I think. They don't really think, I don't think they need damage. I think they need survivability. But again, that's a PvE change. I think my best advice to you guys, if you're searching a class to main for next patch, next big patch, I would say, play something that is undertuned in PvE, and you will get probably overtuned in PvP once there is a buff towards that spec. So I'm thinking about Fire Mage, which is not super overtuned in PvE, might get a buff and like again very soon. So again, try to watch like raid logs and such, and like choose a class accordingly if you want to go for the flavor of the month or be ahead of the meta. Or if you play your favorite spec, it doesn't really matter, right? So that's also good. Mistweaver monks again getting increased healing, increased VP5 healing. They want you to be able to also play a max range build where you're going to heal a lot, like Clouded Focus, for example, Peaceful Mending. So you have a lot of ways to actually heal from afar. We'll see if it's going to be enough. Spinning Crane Kick damage increased by 15%. I don't know if it's going to be very noticeable because the healing, the most healing comes from Rising Sun Kick, basically. Ancient Concordance increases the chance for Rising Sun Kick to reset by 5 or 10%. Again, if you can spam Rising Sun Kick, it means more healing if you're playing the Fist Weaving build. Lesson of Doubt increase healing and damage by up to 40%, just 5% more, so I guess it's going to help you to use that talent very well, or at least that effect very well. So I think Protection Paladin is not going to change much. I mean, like meta-wise, like PvP-wise, at least solo shuffle-wise, you're playing versus yourself, at least the same class. So, I mean, I'm not going to discuss it really because I don't really know how much it will change. I'm not playing a lot versus Protection Paladin, so I don't really have an insight towards that. So I'm sorry for you, Protection Paladin mains. You have to take your conclusions yourself with this. So, Holy Priest. All healing increased by 3%. I guess it will help, but it's only 3% though. Shaman, healing surge and healing increased by 10% again. I think Enhancement Shaman might have a lot more healing with that again, but we'll see what we can do with it. A chain healing increased by 10%. I don't think you're casting that much in PvP. Healing Wave, trying to get you to cast, but for now, at least in PvP, I don't see them cast a lot. I put them in a focus macro, but every time they're not casting, and the only thing I can kick is actually Stormkeepers, Lava Burst, and kinda Hex, so it's kinda insane. Healing Rain increased by 10%. PvE, I guess. Overflowing Shores, I think that's also PvE, because I don't remember this talent, because I'm not taking it. Warlock, so that's the interesting part. Inquisitor Gaze, Fell Barrage, damage increased by 35%, and Inquisitor's Gaze no longer costs Fell Blast. Now, I don't know how much more damage it will be. It does not do insane damage on details. Sometimes I just opt out, but it is free damage nonetheless. So I guess we're going to try to play around it. Summon Soulkeeper, damage increased by 35%. I never played with Soulkeeper, so I don't know how it is in PvP. Just always felt like stacking mechanics, which is requiring killing something, is not really great. So I guess for PvE it might be good, or at least Mythic, for example, Mythic raiding or Mythic dungeon, excuse me. So Destruction, we have Soulfire, damage increased by 20%, which is nice. Again, you're going to give them the incentive to actually kick on fire, which is good for you to actually spam Chaos Bolt. I like it personally. I want to play with Soulfire, but the problem is you do need to sacrifice a point, and you are point starved talent wise if you want to do the most meta build. Now we're going to play around it. There are other changes for Destruction Warlock, which I'm pretty excited, but also pretty bummed. But you will see a bit further down the line. Incinerate doing more damage is always nice. My Incinerate's kinda crit for nearly as much or even more than Chaos Bolts. sometimes crit for 100k, so it basically gives you like 5k damage more, I guess. Sometimes more 2k, 3k, so 4k more damage. It's going to be noticeable over a long match, but I think on the instance itself, I don't think it will give you like kill potential with just 5%. Now, Demonology Warlock, Wild Imp, damage increased by 15%. I guess that's good because you will have more pets doing more damage, and Vilefin doing 30% more in damage might be good for like shorter Tyrant builds where you will have Vilefin like a lot more active, and that might help you to actually do insane sustained damage, and I think it will offset the nerfs that you had previously, I think. Now, I don't really play a lot of Demonology, I might be honest, I don't really like that spec too much, but I can understand that some people might be interested to look into Valfiend, because if you can actually improve it with your Tyrant and make it a longer duration, it might do a lot of sustained damage, I believe. Now, PVP changes. Naltarax, Enemy of the Sky, now grants 1% attack speed in PvP combat, which is the bow from raiding. I don't raid, so it's actually very nice to have that nerfs. I think for AWC it will also be quite nice, although you don't see a lot of BM hunters as well, so I don't know if it's going to be too different. Havoc Demon Hunters are actually getting nerfed. We have Restless Hunter talent, which is a damage bonus talent towards Blade Dance or Death Sweep. Reduced by 40% in PvP combat, so it will make you actually do a lot less damage on Death Sweep, because if you combine it with Essence Break and then your Hunt and such, you're going to have a lot of instant damage. But with this, I think it will be toned down and you will go back to a more sustained, like Demon God, I would say, where you're going to do a lot of pressure at the whole time, but you're never going to actually do some big burst moments, like for example, more strike from your arms warrior could do. But we'll see what the changes will actually affect. I don't think they will drop to B tier. If, like on my latest tier list, if you want to check that out, I put Demon Hunter around S tier in social at least. I think it might drop down to A tier, but not lower. I think it's still a very good spec, because they have a lot of ways to actually be annoying with utility CC, the defensives that they can actually pop, which is super good in social as well. Glimpse still super useful, so I don't know if the damage itself is only the thing that is making Demon Hunter that good. I think it's the whole package, and this will not drop them like a B tier level of class. I think it's still going to be A tier or maybe S tier. But for me, maybe with this change, it will be a A tier spec, which is still a meta spec. But we'll see, we'll see. Garden Druid's getting nerfed because I can understand whenever you read that, that you would think it's a buff, but it's not a buff because it's healing reduced by 50%, and you would think healing is reduced by 62%, but it's the other way around. So it means whenever you are healing with Frenzy Regeneration, it will only give you 50% of that healing instead of that 62% that you would get from a healer. So it is a nerf. It is a nerf. Do not worry about that. And I think it's a like much wider nerf compared to the buffs that you got a bit higher on the patch note. Now these changes on the Evoker will offset the nerfs that you got for preservation, like that 5% less healing. So Living Flame will do more healing, so maybe you want to spam it a bit more, although it's easily kicked because you do not play with haste, I think, as a preservation evoker. I think, do not quote me on that. Verdant Embrace getting more healing on, like in PvP combat, again, very good, but also good for the devastation evokers, by the way. And Oppressing Roar increasing the duration of incoming crowd control by 30%. I think it could be still very strong with Kidney Shot if you actually land it. But in social it's very hard to actually have coordination, so I guess it will not affect too much social. But I think it's an offset, it's an overall buff in my opinion. Living Flame and Verdant Embrace, if you can actually cast it, it will do a lot, especially with the 4-set for preservation. I think Living Flame might be very interesting for you. Beast Mastery getting nerfed on their 4-set, which is actually very insane because at the moment, well, you will see a bit further online, it is one of those classes which are ranged that gets nerfed on the 4-set. Now you will see rogues get also nerfed now, so I guess it's the only melee that got nerfed on the 4 set. But they're entering a closed gathering with all the specs that got nerfed in for their 4 set instead of let's say changing their core mechanics. Hunter getting buffed for rapid fire, aim shot by 15% together, and camera shot I think it's still not going to be played, but whatever. 30% as well, and unerring vision, critical strike bonus, damage bonus, effectiveness reduced by 50%. So it could go up to I think 20%, or was it 10%? I think it's like one goes to 10% and one goes to 20%, I think, or maybe it's both going to 20% or both going to 10%. Anyways, it's a 15% nerf. I think it might give you the incentive to go for shorter true shot, maybe. So you can actually go for a short true shot, which is a 1 minute CD true shot if you're actually playing around that. That could be interesting. Now, I don't know if it's going to be played like that though. But the good thing is aim shot and rapid fire doing more damage in conclusion with also the changes above, which gave you 5% more. So it will be overall 20% and 20% more damage on rapid fire and aim shot, which is actually very, very noticeable. It was already doing a lot of damage. I want to remind you guys that double tap did 50% more damage on aim shot, by the way, because you shot the second part of that aim shot was 50% effectiveness. So effectively you got like a double tap at all times, like often I would say, like every other aim shot is a double tap aim shot, basically, because of the buffs that you got on aim shot. So I think it's going to be a net positive for and rapid fire was always going to hit for a lot. Now it's going to hit for more. So I think it's always nice to have changes towards that. I'm very happy now. I want to see if they're going to do core mechanics changes, because double tap was fun to press because it is like an extra buff. And now I don't know if they're going to compensate that feeling of pressing something towards something else, because damage buffs are quite nice, but it is less noticeable than pressing something and then doing damage. Mistweavers. So we have Healing Sphere PVP taunt, which is the sphere that you put on the ground and you actually dispelled everything without backlash. Now we'll have a backlash on Vampiric Touch and Unstable Affliction, which is for me a big buff for Affliction Warlock. If you're playing 3s or 2s, you know how annoying it is to play versus someone that plays with Healing Sphere. But to compensate with that, you will do increase 320% healing towards the Healing Sphere. Now, it's a straight buff versus a few comps, but if you're playing versus an Affliction Warlock, I think you will not play Healing Sphere, because I just imagine you're putting like 3 Healing Spheres and they all get consumed like individually and you get like an Unstable Affliction every time. They might just die because of that. So I think it's going to be very, very good to play that into Cleaves, but I think into Affliction Warlock and maybe like again Vampiric Touch is not that big. It's going to be not played at all. That's my prediction. I think it will do 60k healing now, which is like 50k if I'm like my calculations are correct. I think it's between 50k and 70k. I would say 60k increased healing on the Mistweaver healing spheres. Not increased, but I would say it's 60k in total, which is good, but it has ACD and it is annoying to actually use and it feels a bit weird to use too, so I feel like it's not going to be that impressive. And you already have a lot of PvP talents, so I don't think you have the points to actually spend on it every single time, because you pretty much need the TP on stuns normally. You also need shorter cocoon, I think, at least I would play like that, and you need revival versus a lot of spells specs to actually being able to dispel everything is actually very insane. So I think you don't really have the space to go for Healing Sphere, and you also have Zen Focus T, so basically not getting kicked. I think there is too many PvP talents that are too good for Mistweaver to actually give space to Healing Sphere. I think it's going to be better if they actually made it into the spec tree. That would be my suggestion. I think they could also open a 4th PvP talent for every spec, but now some specs will have more value than others. Like for example, Mistweaver will have a lot more value, Discreet will have a lot more value. I would say, for example, Affliction Warlock will have a little less value. So again, I think it could be nice to see a change of pace on that front, but we'll see. Shadow Priest getting nerfs on Psyfiend, so you cannot really stack similar effects anymore on Psyfiend, so it will do 50% less healing, and that's it. It's not going to be additive or multiplicative. I don't know what it is with Psyfiend, but that will be not the case. So now if you're breaking Psyfiend, that's it. You don't have a healing reduction on yourself, and then it will be reapplied, I guess, with like wounding, poison, or whatever. So that's a big nerf, to be honest. Rogue getting nerfs on Vault Delves' toolkit, so basically the 4 set by 50%. That's actually very big for the damage profile, but I think I'm not really... My problem is not the damage from Assassination Rogue, because they don't really have insane damage. You would, and now you're going to stop me, Togre. They have insane damage. No, it's the combination with longer kidney shot, with the disruption from mind-numbing poison and wound poison, and like 4 poisons being very, very annoying to play against. Shift, double shift, so you have multiple shift applications that you can actually do to get 40% healing reduction. All those things combined makes Assassination Rogue very, very lethal. I don't think the damage itself, if you're nerfing everything that I'm saying right now and you keep the damage as is, I don't think Assassination Rogue would be as strong as it is. I think if you're nerfing Kidney Shot, that's pretty much a big dent towards Assassination Rogue, for example. If you're nerfing Mind Numbing Poison, it becomes very hard to actually play Assassination versus like casters. I think Mind Numbing Poison is something that you could remove in the game and it would be feeling good for everyone except Assassination Rogue, which is a big win in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, we will see what the 4 set will do. I think it's still S tier because they're not touching the things that are very annoying for people to deal with. Wound Poison will not be able to actually stack whenever you're doing Deathmark, which is actually very good for PvP because the healing reduction was quite nasty. So that's cool. A Restoration Shaman. Now you cannot your Earth Wall Totem will not absorb as much damage from pets anymore, so it will last longer. At least it will not break stupidly because of AoE on the pets. So that's a very big buff for Demonology Warlocks, BM Hunters, Unholy DKs and such. Those like got the Earth Wall Totem pretty messed up if you're playing versus a Fraud Druid, for example. So I think it's a like overall buff. It's going to be decent, but I'm not thinking it's going to be like earth-shattering like buff-wise. Affliction Warlock got their unstable affliction backlash damage increased by 35%. They're buffing a lot of affliction these days. I think it's a good thing because the meta is not around dampening. So I feel like if you have more damage as Affliction Warlock to be more scary, I think it's good for the Affliction Warlock themselves. So it's a good thing. Also, they were like dispelling like crazy, so now they will be probably more scared to actually dispel unstable affliction. Now, Destruction Warlock getting buffed on Chaos Bolt by 25%, so from 15% to 40% is big. It will give you Chaos Bolt actually the ability to crit, well, not, it's always critting by the way, but around 80k and 100k, which is actually very nice. Because it is a signature ability for Destruction Warlock, and that would be nice to actually have a reliable big hitter instead of just Incinerate spam, which is something that we're going to do right now, but a bit less with Chaos Bolt doing that much damage. Now, Bane of Havoc is going to deal less damage to targets, because it was doing 100% more damage. Now it's going to be 60% more damage. I mean, instead of doing full damage, it will do 60%, which was intended, but it felt like Bane of Havoc was giving a lot of benefits towards Destruction Warlock. But now with these changes, I think the overall buffs that you got will get offset pretty hard because of that, because Bane of Havoc was BIS for everyone. Everyone plays that with Mayhem, and you had a lot of procs, so you had a lot of AoE pressure, and often than not, you were ending like top damage in the game without even casting Chaos Bolts. So I think overall it's going to be a nerf for Destruction Warlock, but we'll see how the Chaos Bolts changes will actually change for Destruction Warlock. Fell Fissure, nobody really plays that, but if you were playing that, at least it will not stack anymore. So there is that. Warriors, one of the fan favorites specs that I'm playing right now, since even before the buffs. They got pretty hit on a few talents and a few passives. So Executioner's Precision is now effective 30% in PvP combat, so it will make like a 12% stack on, like with executes, or if you're doing executes, you're going to have a 12% stack on more strike, and then you can do it 2 times, so it will be 24%. In my opinion, you don't need to play it anymore, talent-wise. I think it's going to be better to spend that point elsewhere. Now, I don't really know where you could spend it, because you already spent so many points. But I think it's not worth to pick it anymore, since it's nerfed considerably. It's like 70% less effective. It's going to actually kill the talents, to be honest, but it is what it is. Martial Prowess is now effective 33% in PvP combat, so it was 15% stack times 2, so 50% times 2, and now it's going to be 33% less, so I guess it's around 10%. I think it will be stacking 10% or like 12%, something like that, times 2, so it will do a lot less damage on more strike. Well, I don't know if it's a good thing, but they're like shifting the damage onto overpower and slam. I think slam, even by 40%, even if you would put 100%, but nobody would play slam, in my opinion. But 40% is not enough to actually make slam builds viable. But overpower doing 20% more damage is actually insane. I'm actually critting for 60k reliably. So 60%, like 60k with 20% increase, I think it will be doing around 75k crits now. And with modifiers and such like Avatar or Closer Smash, you could be doing a lot more damage as well. So I think overpower spam will be more viable to actually do than instead of more strike. I think doing a lot of more strikes is going to be interesting, but I think overpower will just crit for more like baseline. That's my actual analysis towards those changes. It's a nerf towards the one-shot potential that you could have as an Arms Warrior, but I think the sustained damage for Arms Warrior will be increased like overall, because you do spam overpower more often than more strike, so it's going to be a net positive. But I don't really like Executioner's Precision anymore. I think it's not going to be played anymore, so I might do a quick update on Arms Warrior build very soon. But anyways, thank you for watching the video. I really appreciate you. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet, and we will catch each other very soon in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.